You know who we have to check with? Our resident Seahawks expert and superfan, Mina Kimes, is standing by. Mina, what did you think of this move, and what do you think Darnold brings to Seattle?
Yeah, I think he brings a lot of the skills we saw on display last year with the Vikings. It was obviously an incredible season for Darnold, and you saw the traits that made him go at the top of the draft when he was taken by the Jets. The arm talent, the ability and willingness to push the ball downfield, give receivers a chance, some playmaking as well, and the system fit that Lewis described, which of course does translate to Clint Kubiak in Seattle. I do think you also saw, particularly in the final two games of the season, that he is a quarterback who does struggle at times with pressure, and that is deeply concerning to me because he goes to a Seahawks team that I believe has one of the worst interior offensive line situations in the NFL. For the Seahawks to get the sort of upside out of him that I think they believe they can get relative to Geno Smith, they must improve the offensive line. I mean, there are obviously needs at receiver now, I would argue even tight end, but because of this particular quarterback that they are betting on, if they do not improve the interior offensive line, this is going to be dead in the water. So that's the mandate now for Seattle.
Exactly. You have to figure that they diagnosed those last two games, that they're going to do whatever they do to rectify that situation. But they have a lot of work to do in that regard for a team that hasn't won a playoff game since 2019. Mina, first off, what is your reaction on Fields going to the Jets?
I think it's a reasonable deal. I know 2 years, $40 million, you hear that, it sounds like a lot of money, but honestly, when you look at quarterback contracts these days, it's not a lot of money. It's really just like a one-year deal, and it suggests that the Jets aren't overspending on the quarterback position this year, which I think is smart. I do not think this is a football team that's a quarterback away. As far as the player that they're getting in Fields, I think you saw some improvement last year in Pittsburgh in terms of taking fewer sacks, getting the ball out a little bit quicker. What I would like to see with the Jets this year and their new offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, is some of that aggression we saw earlier in his career, both as a runner, designed QB runs should be a big part of this offense, and pushing the ball downfield. He has a big arm, and I would love to see that connection with Garrett Wilson, maybe some shot plays off of play action, to get a little bit more, I think, of the big play ability you saw earlier in Fields' career.
Yeah, you mentioned their new OC. He was the Lions passing game coordinator last year. Comes aboard along with Aaron Glenn. All right, you referenced the Bears moments ago. They are top of mind, Mina. Obviously, they had their quarterback in Caleb Williams, but they needed guys to protect him, and today they landed the top center available, former Falcon Drew Dahlman. They also traded for guards Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson. Williams, as you'll recall, was sacked a league-high 68 times last year. What do you make of the pieces that Chicago is putting around him?
Yeah, I really like the emphasis that the Bears have placed on protection on the interior of that offensive line. Ben Johnson comes from Detroit, a team whose success over the last few years really was built inside out with that offensive line, which became one of the, if not the best in football at points, behind maybe the Philadelphia Eagles. But this was an issue last year. I thought there was too much on Caleb's shoulders, so I love the idea of them bringing in a veteran center who can help set protections, who's a good run blocker. I'll be interested to see if the signing sort of signals that they are going to have more of a zone run game, which is what Dalton did in Atlanta, and if they bring in any backs, perhaps in the draft in that regard. But overall, I do like this. These are smart signings and really much needed based on what we saw last year.
Yeah, Thuney, as we know, great experience there with the Chiefs and can be versatile if needed. Lots of moves for the Bears, and they had the most cap room of anybody. I'm wondering what, so far, your favorite moves are around the league since noon today.
Yeah, I'll just throw out a few. First of all, really like, this was over the weekend, Davante Adams to the Rams. 2 years, $46 million, 26 guaranteed. Really a continuation of a theme, which is that the Rams are very much all in on this season with Matthew Stafford after giving him a little bit more money. Fills that X-receiver need in this offense. Very different role from what Cooper Kupp did, much more working outside the numbers, the red zone. Odell Beckham Jr., think about him on the Super Bowl run, Demarcus Robinson. And Adams still has a lot of juice, and I love the pairing of him with Matthew Stafford, an aggressive quarterback. This one was not today, but Ronnie Stanley returning to the Ravens looks even better today as we've seen some of these tackle deals come in. 3 years, $60 million honestly is downright reasonable for one of the better tackles in football, who was really good last year and perhaps more importantly, healthy, played the entire season. So a pivotal part of that Ravens offense, which was just fantastic. And then one more offensive line deal I'll throw out. Just saw the Minnesota Vikings signed Ryan Kelly, the center from the Colts, to a 2-year deal. I believe I saw $18 million. That was a real need for them, the interior of the offensive line, a big part of why they couldn't run the ball, quite frankly. So I think shoring that up with a veteran center, hopefully he's healthy, is a good signing for them.
Yeah, especially with J.J. McCarthy beginning his career there. Who knows if Daniel Jones will stay and what else that's going to look like at quarterback.